So welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast, a space where we explore, change, heal on a journey back to our true selves. If you've been feeling stuck, held back by limiting beliefs, cycles of negative thinking, you're not alone. And this is exactly where this podcast meets you. Each episode is designed to gently help you break free from those patterns and give you something real, something practical and meaningful that you can begin to use in your own life. Here we don't just talk, we share tools, insights and stories that are not only inspiring but also understandable and relatable, so you can truly connect with them. And most importantly, everything we explore is something you can take away and apply, so that change isn't just an idea, but something you can begin to live. You will hear from mentors and coaches, authors and teachers, people who have walked through challenges, faced their own struggles and found a way forward. Their stories are here to open your eyes, touch your heart, and resonate deeply within you. And as you listen today, my hope is that you feel supported, empowered, and guided, because this journey is yours, and you don't have to walk it alone. I send you my love and blessings as you continue on your path of growth, healing, and transformation. Today, I am honored to welcome our special guest, joining us all the way from Florida, Dara Kalvort. She is a mentor and a coach who inspires people around the world on how to recognize burnout, what the warning signs are, that we often just ignore, and how to maintain a life balance in a world that demands a lot of us. Her work talks about redefining that work-life balance, overcoming that burnout. And as an expert on AI technology, she uses the tool in order to create more time for what matters in our lives. Her story she told on the TEDx Swansea platform about 5 months ago when I met her. Now, it's a deeply personal story because it is about her reclaiming her well-being, where she describes how severe burnout manifested in her physically, the exhaustion, the stress-related health problems. And she explains how her body was signaling this to her and she was ignoring it. Says her message is, the balance isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters. So we will ask Dara all about it. So sit back and relax and join us for the next episode of the Guiding Voice podcast. Says so we go to visit Florida. Dara Kalvort, how are you?
I'm doing great. I wish I was in your part of Florida.
Yes, it does look rather beautiful, doesn't it?
It is. It is.
But I have to say, Swansea today, well, for the past couple of weeks, lovely sunshine, wall-to-wall sunshine. And I met you in Swansea about 5 months ago, when was it? Yeah, 6 months ago, maybe a little bit
No
longer.
more.
Yeah, 8
Yeah.
months.
8.
October, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
Gosh,
October.
yeah.
Yes.
But didn't we have nice weather? I can't remember.
No, we did not.
Oh, we did not. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
I just to say, you'll have to come visit back in
I'll need
July
to come.
time.
I loved it. It was beautiful. I just wish the weather had been better. Yes. But
Anyway,
everything about a coastal town to me is perfect. So,
oh, I bet, absolutely.
yeah.
Well, welcome. It's so lovely to see you, and it's such a pleasure to have you on the Guiding Voice podcast. Thank you for taking the
Thank
time.
you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So, Dara, I did introduce you as a mentor and a coach. Um, that inspires people around the world to really value their time. In other words, value the life balance, the work life balance. And I know your expertise, and it is an expertise, is AI technology. But in your TEDx Swansea platform, where you were there talking about yourself, it became almost really the heart of the whole talk, even though it was about technology. You called it freed by choice, and I love that. I just love that concept, and we're going to talk about that today with listeners,
Excellent.
because I introduce the podcast all the time, where I say we have mentors and coaches and experts and specialists and teachers and authors, all being able to give guidance, but also tools and that type of thing. And AI technology is a tool, right? We can
Right.
use it in our
Yes.
lives.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
So, yeah, go on.
no, no, go ahead. Yeah.
So, what I wanted to just sort of start with was this idea that you were talking about creating space to heal. Because at the time you had like hit that rock bottom, and we all do on our journey, especially when we hit that challenge, that pivotal moment of change and what have you. We tend to hit that rock bottom, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, or all three lumped together. And
Agree.
you sort of found your way out of that using the expertise that you have in your everyday life, because you have to earn a living. But it became the core sort of message, okay, of how to do that balance and be able to live more intentionally. I think you said
Yes.
intentionally, which is lovely. So that's where we're going to go with you. But first of all, we're going to start,
Yes.
as I always do, is let's start with who you are, Dara. Are you born and bred Florida? Did you grow up in Florida?
I did not. I was actually born in Brooklyn, New York, and then my parents moved us when I was about 2.5, 3 years old to New Jersey, to central New Jersey. So I've always been lucky, been by the water some way, yeah, my whole journey. From there, I went to college at Rutgers University in New Jersey, and then I made my way for a job to Fort Myers, Florida, Cape Coral area. That's where I met my husband. And then we moved again to Virginia Beach for work. And then from Virginia Beach, it brought us back to Florida, but to the East Coast in the Boca Raton, South Florida area.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that's how I made it here. So
That's
it's
lovely.
been a nice journey. And like I said, I'm very lucky. Every one of those moves has been by the water.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because water, spiritually, water is all about emotion. And it's all
Yes.
about, flow and being
Yes.
able to move with life and movement, isn't it? And
Yes.
tides, tides come and go. And, just even just watching that wave coming in, something comes into your life and then it recedes, and people come and go in your life. And water has that context, isn't it? I love
Yes,
I
absolutely.
love the idea that you sort of
It's calming.
recognize. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it's calming.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's calming. Absolutely. There's nothing nicer than sitting by a babbling brook and just listening to the flow of that water, or sitting on the beach and listening to the waves, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, so you are you an only child, or?
No, I have a younger brother. He lives in Southern California in Orange County, and he's married and has two girls. They're 10 and 13. They're awesome. So I don't have any children with my husband, so it's nice to have. It's too bad they're far away, but it is nice to have them. They're hilarious, and it's kind of cool to see your younger sibling be such a great dad and husband.
Oh, that is so nice. I love the fact that you are close to your brother. That
Yes.
sibling bond. It's really nice. Your parents very sort of supportive as you grew up in terms of what you were doing with your life and your life goals.
Yeah, I would say they were. They both were into making sure that we were resilient and independent. And I think that's so important in life because nobody's going to take care of you but you at the end of the day. So it was good. My father was very much about staying calm in stressful situations. I remember when I first got into my career, which was sales, I was freaking out because it was so people were aggressive and, were very territorial, and my mom had been in sales in her career. So I called her crying. And she told me, this is the way it is. This is the environment, and you're going to have to, give it some time and tough it out. And then if it's not for you, then you're gonna have to find something else to do, but you can't cry about it.
Yeah.
That's just the way they were. They just really taught resilience and pushing through.
Oh, that's lovely. What did you study when you sort of came out of your high school and went into college and uni? What did you do?
I wanted to be a journalist originally,
Right.
so I did journalism and English as my majors. So I really enjoyed it, but once I got to the point where I was getting closer to graduation, I realized I didn't know if I wanted that life enough to be able to put up with what comes with it as you're growing. You're not making much money for a while. I would probably have to move to a small market somewhere that I might not want to live. And I said, well, if I really, really was passionate about it, that wouldn't bother me. So that led me in other direction, but I really had a good time doing it. I still enjoy it.
So sales, you went into straight into sales?
I did. I did. I had called somebody that I knew that ran the sales department of a communications company. I had interned there on the journalism side. And I was introduced to this woman, and I thought she was so cool at the time. She was just really just strong and confident and attractive. And so I reached out to her, not to go into sales, though. I just wanted to know, can you introduce me to some people in marketing or public relations? Because I was doing another internship on the public relations side. And she called me back and she said, no, you're going to come next Wednesday at 8:30 and talk to me about a job.
That's so amazing. Isn't it
Yeah.
incredible how I love the way you sort of introduced her as she was strong and beautiful, and it was almost like you idol, sort of almost like an idol. And
Yes,
I think
yes.
that's important for listeners as well to recognize the importance of finding those people on your path that are placed there for your guidance, for your inspiration, and that also becomes what you like to emulate as you go forward.
Yes. That's such a great point. I never thought of it that way, but at that point in my life, she was the first one that, I had teachers that I really liked or looked up to, professors, so on and so forth, people and family, but she was really the first one that showed me this is who I want to emulate. This to me is very motivating. Okay, I don't know anything about sales. I said to her, that's real. I started laughing. I said, that's not what I wanted. I don't know anything about it. And she said, well, that's fine. We'll talk about it. You'll be here next week at 8:30.
That's lovely. How long
Yeah.
were you with her then, or are you still in contact even today, or was she
No,
just
unfortunately, we lost contact. She wound up, giving up her career because she had wound up having a couple of boys, and she decided to go a different direction eventually. But yeah, I loved the first few years of my career getting to work under her and learn from her and just see how she handled situations. And that was really the start of seeing a female leader in action.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And that is so important. I mean, we're in your 20s.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, early
that's sort
20s.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, early 20s. So that's your start, isn't it, in life? And I guess you've just always kept that with you as you've gone forward.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't think about it that way, but now that you brought that up, that is true.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, I mean, I'm a lecturer and what have you, and I do travel and tourism. Well, my first placement was in Disney World.
Oh,
And
that's great.
that was my internship, and the way Disney World talk about hospitality and the love of, you know, providing that special moment for people, that wow factor has stuck with me all through my career. So
That's
you
great.
do find that. So, it's
Yes.
always a good thing to find that person. That's when I introduced you as a mentor and a coach. I bet you bring in those moments. Who was next after this wonderful person? What was the next sort of pivotal person in your life that made the change for you?
Yeah, so I would say the next one was with the same company. So I was working directly in sales for a while. I went to their sales training, the company sales training at the time. And the company was much, much smaller. Today it's a global organization. It's funny how things just, over 25 years just really, really grew. But there was this gentleman who ran all of the advertising sales department up in Philadelphia, and I went to the sales training. And at first, I was really struggling with getting appointments and being comfortable with being on the phone or even in person. And so they wanted you in the environment for about 3 to 6 months so that you understand how things work and get a feel for it before you go to the training. So when I got to go to the training, I think I was on I'm more on the 3 month side because the class was coming up. So they sent me, and I just realized how much I fell in love with the whole environment. It changed my thoughts about sales and what we were doing, and it gave me a whole bunch of tools. And this gentleman really just absolutely loved my energy and that I was so open to learning and participating. And so, lo and behold, several months later, I went back into the field, as they say, after that, after the training was over, incredibly motivated. I started to use the technique. Suddenly, I'm getting appointments. I'm getting more comfortable. I'm making, sales and quotas. And then he tapped that woman on the shoulder, who was my first inspiration, and said that he wanted to bring me up to the corporate office and be a project coordinator for him. So I did that, and I got to see the organization at his level. I got to do some traveling. I got to go to really great training sessions. He actually had me work on some of the training with him, and I even had my own part in some of those sales trainings, which was phenomenal. So it was a really good experience. I did not love it though. I didn't like being in that very corporate environment. Outside of the cool things like getting to travel around and go to these training sessions, the everyday grind really wasn't my thing. And he saw it. And so he actually sent me back to the field. And I had a supervisory position at that point because he said, you need to be in leadership. You need to be around people and leading and out there, not sitting behind a desk. And I couldn't agree more. So it was interesting that he, picked up on that. But yeah, he's still, we're still fans of each other. He really gave me something special to take with me throughout my whole career. And he was the one who got me into leadership. I don't know that I would have thought about it. How would I
That is
know, right?
that well, exactly. It's so important. And I ask everybody on the podcast, give me the sort of timeline. And some people actually, like you just said, I never thought of it like that. A lot of people do. Oh, I never thought. When we go back into those timelines, we find that how the connection, even years later,
Yeah.
suddenly becomes very important.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that first company, even though I didn't wind up ultimately staying that long, I moved on to other things. I moved on a lot in my 20s, which, was actually a good thing because you need to find your way. And then it was funny because I made my way back to that company after I left. Another person that I met along the way asked me to come back and be a sales manager. She had seen me work as the supervisory role because I oversaw several markets, helping with sales and training. And she was a tough personality, and she knew that from that experience that I can handle her. So she called me, and it was a really good time in my life to make a move like that. And so I took it, and that was really the trajectory. So before I was 30 years old, I was already managing people who were double or more than my age, which was a nice challenge. And I used that same leadership philosophy of coming in as a young leader with no really formal experience outside of, the supervisory, but that was more helping people, not necessarily leading people, so to speak. And so I said to her when she talked to me about the position, I said, well, I know your team, and I think that, the average age is probably about double mine. how do you, or close to it, I said, how do you feel about that? How am I going to do that? She goes, you have the qualities of what a leader is, and you're going to be just fine. I didn't know if I believed her or not. So when I came into the environment, I took this attitude of, okay, I'm going to learn from them. I'm not going to come in and act like I know everything. That would be a disaster because I don't. And they've been doing this respectfully for 20, 25 years, most of them. So I came in and I told them that, I want to get to know you. I did one-on-ones, took everybody out to breakfast. So it was more of an informal or lunch, informal situation. Got to know them, just went along with the day to day. And then they started to naturally invite me on their appointments to meet their clients and prospects. And from there, I would just lightly chime in where I felt I had something to add. And then from there, I realized how much trust it started to build. And before you know it, I was like, I still keep in touch with a lot of them today, all these years later, because it wound up being such an incredible experience. The team thrived, the people individually, the people that, as a group, we thrived. It was a phenomenal first experience. And then I moved to Florida with that same company to the Fort Myers, Cape Coral area. So all in all, I had wound up being with the company for almost 13 years when I came back.
Wow. That
Yeah.
is good. That is amazing. But it also sounds like, at those, when you're presented with something change, a lot of people fear that, won't actually, but I kind of get the impression that, you were brought up with this resilience and, put your big girl pants on. And I just want to say this as well, because I know you, and I don't think you'd mind me saying it to the listener. Dara is pint sized, but her energy, her
Yeah.
energy is double, triple that. It is just so amazing. When I met her, her light just shines. She really is. So I,
Thank
I
you.
can imagine you, you know, having this sort of, well, I'm going to give it a good go, I'm going to give it my best, I'm going to, your that phone call you made to your mother, just dry the
Yeah.
tears, Dara, get on with
Yeah.
it.
Yes, get over it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that has kind of set you up, hasn't it, really?
It
But there
really
must have
has.
been times, okay, but where were the sort of the dark side? Where's the side where you really did feel I've made a wrong decision, or I need to get out of this? Give us some of those moments.
Oh, quite a lot.
Especially
In fact,
sales. I mean, it's
yeah.
like a
Oh,
tough
it's
environment.
hard. Yeah, it's a grind. So, but to go back for a second, you mentioned about my size. They would so after they got to know me, the sales team, the first sales team that I took on, this one gentleman, he said, oh, we were joking when we found out that Lisa was bringing you in to do sales because we knew that you were young, and and then we were like, oh, she's so small that she may have leave to say over see over the manager's desk.
Yeah.
So they were really having a good time of it. I'm like, oh, I'm glad I did not know coming in.
Yes, that could have
Yeah.
been a little bit tough to overcome. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
absolutely.
glad I didn't know. But yeah, no, I made so I had, been in New Jersey my whole life. I was very close with my family, particularly my mom. And when I got this opportunity to move away from New Jersey and go to Florida to manage another team, it was a great opportunity. The company was going to pay me well to do the move, which was very, it was nice. They were very accommodating, and I wanted to be in the warmer weather with the palm trees and all of that. I had always loved that kind of lifestyle. But it was a very different lifestyle, and it was a really big change. And I'd never been away from my family to that degree. And when I got there, that sales team, it was a different situation. There's a couple people that weren't excited that I was coming over. They took something wrong that I said in when they interviewed me during the whole process. They took something the wrong way that I said, so that was a learning experience of to be more careful with those kind of things. I still don't quite understand how this person thought this, but I found out after that she was just a cancer in the environment. And she wound up leaving not too long after, which was great for her and for me and for the team. But after that, I was able to, well, even while she was there, I was able to still move ahead and make connections with the team one on one. And then when they started to pick up on it and trusted me, then all of a sudden they were telling me, no, she's like this with everybody. She's very negative. We're no longer listening to what she has to say. We really, respect you. We're glad you're here. And that changed the whole trajectory. But that, those first months and even the first year, just getting used to the environment and a different type of people than I grew up around, not just in the work environment, but just in general, was really life changing. And again, I once again called my parents, and my parents are divorced. And it's interesting that they both always have given me the same advice. They didn't divorce till I was in college. So when I was growing up, it was in the same household. But then as I got older, it wound up being, it was amazing. I'd call one and I'd call the other, and they'd say the same thing. Still on the, no, you can't come home.
Put your big girl pants on.
Yeah, so it's the same message. No, you've got to stick this through. You just
Yeah.
got there. You need to give it time. You need to work this through. So I did, and then it was amazing. I wound up being there for over 9 years. That's where I met my spouse, and had a great friend group. I did my MBA there, met some other friends that were are some of the best friends I'll ever have in my life. And it got me to continue the next level, to go to the next area, which was Virginia Beach, where we moved for my husband's job, and had to start again, finding my way, finding a job, starting over again in a very different type environment. It was once again hard at first, and then it wound up being a phenomenal experience
I
until we
love
moved
that.
again.
I
Yeah.
love that you say that because, yes, I mean, that woman, when you first went there, I mean, if you had given up, you would never have met your spouse, possibly. You wouldn't
Yeah.
have done
I
your
would.
MBA. You wouldn't have made loads of new friends and what have you. You know, so really looking back, it's a thank you to her because what she brought out in you was what you had within you, which was your tenacity, which was your
Yes.
strength. I mean, if you'd waltzed in there and it, was all lovely, well, great. But life doesn't do that. You know, the tide comes in, it hits the shore, something happens. What do you
Yeah.
know? It goes back out again at some point, and you just saw yourself through it. Her leaving and everything just allowed you the next 9 years of bliss, which is beautiful.
Yes.
Lovely to
Yes.
think of. And the same thing again, another move, but it didn't stop you from going, I can still do this because I've got this within me. And I think that's what a lot of people need to understand a lot of the time on this journey of life. We have to find those moments where we have to sometimes dig a bit deeper, but it's our
Right.
core
Right.
values, and it's that sort of idea of living with that and
Yes.
sticking to it. I don't think you've ever swayed from that inherent DNA that you knew you had, that you understood. And when people say good things about you, to you can do this and why, you believe it because you know it, you feel
Right.
it. Yeah,
Yes.
that's so
Yeah. It's a
beautiful.
feeling. It's
Yeah.
a feeling because one of the things that was also great about working for the gentleman, at this company in the very early years is he was all into the motivational speakers. And you could say what you want. And, some of them were very religious, which I'm not very religious. I'm spiritual and I follow religion, but I'm not religious, so to speak, right? And you could say what you want, but what I did was I listened to these speakers like Anthony Robbins and Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy. And from that, because I needed that motivation so much in those early days to keep me going. And they also helped along the way. And I decided, okay, well, it doesn't matter if I don't agree or relate to everything they say. I'm going to listen open-minded and take the pieces that work for me. And I learned so many valuable things. And I just realized that, if people like Benjamin Franklin, right, just gave up on his experiments, we would be sitting in the dark, right?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. If, Abraham Lincoln decided after he, lost two or three different elections, right, he would have, never been where he was. He never would have been our president. So you look at that and you kind of, if you put it in that perspective, it really makes a lot of sense. Because what's the sense of giving up?
Yeah, absolutely.
Something
Absolutely.
usually good comes out of it, even if it's this isn't for me or this isn't my environment. That's okay too. That's good,
Yes. Because
right? It's
again,
all good. It all
it's
works
an
out exactly
awareness,
how it's
isn't
supposed to
it?
be.
Yeah, yeah.
Brian Tracy said, to realize, and I don't know that he might have been quoting somebody else, but this is where I got it from. He said, wherever it is that you are right now is exactly where you're supposed to be.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
100%. And whoever's in your life are meant to be in your life right now for that
Yes.
reason. And I think
Yes.
that's really important, as we've just been saying, that person that inspired you, that person that motivated you, that person that gave you a hard time, all of them are part and parcel of that journey. And
Yes.
thank you for that, because it gives you that change. When you sort of did your TEDx um talk, you talked about the time where you literally did go to that burnout, where it was a stop for you, because we all
Right.
have it. It can be
Right.
an age thing, it can be, massive changes within life, lifestyle, all of that. Anything can really trigger something like that. What was yours? What happened with you?
Yeah. So I had been, I think, this, drive in me also, could be negative when because I definitely, thrive off of adrenaline. I am one of those like introverts, extroverts where I need my downtime, but I also at the same time get energy from people. So I can't, be completely isolated, but I can't be continually with that adrenaline. But I was letting that happen. And I got into, digital sales management and I really enjoyed it. And I just came up with this philosophy for myself, which was I can outwork anybody, right? Because it was a very competitive environment. When I first started to do that work for the next company that I was at, which I was in Virginia Beach originally doing this, I wound up, the sales leader there, the director of sales, said that when I left to be with the company, but in Florida, because my husband took another job here in this area, he said to me, "You were the MVP of the team of the year because I took their digital sales and confidence from nothing to this extreme, and then I helped them in another market, Richmond, that my boss had, oversaw. So I went in there and helped them get things going. So I started to live off this adrenaline, and then going into Miami to do this was a much bigger market, more salespeople. Uh, Many of the salespeople were more aggressive. It's just a different type of, lifestyle attitude, where they're from. And yeah, I can handle that because I was from the Northeast and it's similar to that. But at the same time, it's really crazy on adrenaline. So over time, all the success I had to keep it up. I had to keep it up. I had to keep it up.
Pressure,
I had to keep it
pressure,
up.
pressure. Yeah.
Yes, I was, I'd be at work till late and then I'd have to drive home, 45 minutes or plus, depending on traffic. I'd get home, I'd have, dinner with my husband, watch a little bit of TV, and then it was like, oh, I got to pull the laptop back out, got to start doing proposals, need to do research, need to do this, need to do that. This was like over a period of over 3 years. I mean, I'd go to bed at midnight, 2 a.m. I'd get up a few hours later. I'd work out to get myself pumped up to the day, get to the office early. I thought I was it, right? I was just like this, I gotta keep this up. I gotta keep this up. And I didn't set boundaries for myself. And one day my body put a stop to it. And in fact, prior to, us getting on this call, we talked about, our body shutting down. I started to have some of those shutdowns where I just couldn't get out of bed, but didn't listen. Like, okay, that's me. So I'll rest it up. I'll get back out of bed, jump up. Well, as the company, like many companies, started to downsize, it even got more difficult because now I'm losing resources increased responsibility, and I'm still trying to keep this up to the point where I literally started breaking out. And I had these, it sounds gross. I talk about it in the talk. It was a very vulnerable thing to bring up. But I had these like pus-filled warts that were on my neck, my back, my shoulders, down part of my arms. And it was like I couldn't get rid of it no matter what I did. I, eventually went to a dermatologist. I went to a doctor, and I was scratching it all the time too, because it was just that nervous kind of, yeah. And anyway, I wound up taking another job that was actually equally as stressful because people at this next company had heard what I did over there. And instead of me saying, no, I need to stick with this company,
Can I
maybe,
just stop you there? Why did you
yeah.
move jobs? What, to another company? Was it more money again? Was it more?
It was more
Yeah,
money,
yeah.
and
It
it
was a,
was to start their
yeah,
department.
yeah,
Yeah. They
yeah.
said, you've been so
Oh, so
successful. We
now
see the
again, it's like
success.
I've been headhunted, and it's like this
Yes.
whole, yeah.
Right. This
Look at
worked,
me.
right? Look what it's
Yeah.
getting me. But I'm, broken out all over the place and, stressed out. And every morning I started to get up and I don't know, have you ever heard of Abraham Hicks?
Yes.
Yes. I started listening to a lot of their stuff and got back into some motivational stuff, started to journal, got up early. Instead of going to the gym, I just go out and take a jog or a walk because I needed this to find myself again. So lo and behold, this job comes up. I decide to take it, and it's equally, if not in some ways, more
Worse.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
worse.
that is, can I just stop you there? Because often
Yes.
we get that sort of choice. We sit and we think, right, I know, you're listening to Abraham Hicks, you're doing
Yeah.
journaling, you're starting to go on that journey where spirit is saying to you, can we please nurture and look after you and take you down here? And you're going, yes, oh. And the behavior, the pattern, the validation, the X was also fighting. It's like, where do I go? Where do I go? And you
And
ended
that's
up
it, the
going back
validation
there.
too.
Yes,
That's how I
yeah,
work, right? I
yeah,
love the validation. It keeps
yes.
the adrenaline pumping
Yep,
for me.
yep.
Yes.
The energy,
Yeah.
you couldn't live without it. I mean,
Right.
a lot of people at this stage in life, often it's alcohol, there's drugs involved, all sorts of things. I mean, I don't, you can tell us if you want, but a lot of people, it might not just be the hard drugs, but it could be the idea of sort of over stimulating yourself in some
Yeah.
way with sort of caffeine type things. You know, I know people
Yeah.
that drink Red Bull by the gallon just to
Right.
keep the,
Right.
I mean, that is a drug in itself, really, if you think
It
about it.
is. It is. Yeah, I didn't go that route. I think that I'm very much into health and fitness, have been for a really long time. So I took the opposite approach, which was to listen to these things, to journal, to try to stay healthier. Although I did, start eating worse and, that kind of thing because it's just,
Do
it's
you,
just what sort of
yeah,
what happens,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
You have to, if it's not a drug, if it's not alcohol, there's something that you're gonna to grab onto.
yeah,
Yeah, so I let my, diet go, which did help with the breaking out and, getting my body back in check. My hormones were quite frankly just all over the place.
yeah.
So when I got to my next company and this was starting to happen again, and I had cleared up at this point. I had scars all over, but it finally cleared up. And I had to, say to myself, you can't let yourself go down this path again. Well, at this point, AI started to become something. And I started to, I'm always very intrigued about what's out there. I learned this during my MBA when I got to my MBA and I started to take these classes and just realize how much was out there outside of your everyday work environment and the same type of people you wind up dealing with, every day over and over again. I saw there's this whole other world out there. And I said, I'm always going to continue to be curious. And so that was great. So I got very curious about, AI. I started to try it. I started to implement it into my workflow, and it was life changing. And then I was hearing all the time, oh, AI is going to, take over our jobs. It's going to ruin human connection. It's going to ruin our humanity. And I just looked at it very differently. I said, here I was sitting in an office, and not just me, but the salespeople in the office, the other leaders that were around me were more stuck to the computer than we ever were before. It is bringing us less human connection because we don't have the resources of people anymore, or even the tools were
Yeah.
taken away to some degree. And so I said, this is crazy. Like, this really helped me. This was the thing that saved me. One of the pieces that somebody amazing had helped me with, brought this into the speech. He said to me, make it more dramatic when you're opening about, here's your situation, here's what saved you. Don't say what it is right away. And I say that, I found something that saved me and that could save you too. What I'm talking about, the thing that saved me, is artificial intelligence, AI. It's like I knew I was going to get this reaction, from the audience and all that. And then I explained, that AI didn't make me less human. It made room for me to be human.
Oh, I
And
love that.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's really what happened. And it was like taking control of the technology and saying, okay, I'm supposed to be around people in my job, right? That's what helps to drive it. I'm having less time doing it, so let AI do the mundane stuff. Like I would see salespeople. I remember this one guy, he would say he would be there day in and day out all day long, right? And then he'd complain about, his family life, right? Because he's never around. And he was just like he was one of those people. He would just take on more and more of stuff. Oh no, I can't give that up. But that the reality was you weren't hired for those things. And when you first got into the business and for many years after, right, those things were taken care of for you from, an assistant, from different tools that you had. Now you're doing this very manually, and you've added 3 hours onto your day of things that are not driving the business forward, right? They're just bogging you down and they're stressing you out. And that was, I use him as the example, but it was several people, me included, right? And I just took the path of I'm going to try this out, and I put it into my workflow slowly. I here's an email, clean it up for me, because I would spend so much time trying to figure out the exact right email from my notes. I started to have it record my notes so I can pay attention on a Zoom call instead of worrying about my to-do list and also writing down notes and then having to figure out what to say, right? So those things were great to just add to getting my life back. Having to do recaps for clients would take forever because here I am in the middle of doing it, and my phone is beeping. I'm getting texts, I'm getting phone calls, people are knocking at my door, right? And all of a sudden it's 3 hours later and I've got nothing done with this proposal. Now I could take what I want to say, I could put it into, a prompt, a really good prompt, and using the right tool. And I could say, okay, in the earlier days of AI, I would get back an outline. I'd still have to put it together, but at least there's the outline and I can pretty it up. Saved a ton of time. Today, like using Claude Design or Canva,
Yeah.
they do amazing
Yeah.
presentations.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
put in my template, I tell it what I want it to say, and it makes it look beautiful. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, because it
Back in
is
the day,
still
I would have had
you.
somebody do that, right?
Yeah,
Because that
but
was their
it's
expertise.
you that's turning up. It's
Right,
you that actually is turning up
right.
because, yeah, you're still delivering, you're still meeting with clients, you're still human connection. And
Yes,
more than anything, you're now living more life with more intentionality,
yes, yes.
intentional change, intentional time that you're using. And I think that's so important. What do you do, well, every day that you know that you are living now life with more intentionality? What are you doing?
I'm making sure that I get to, I love Orange Theory, so I make sure that I get there, a good 4, if not 5 times a week. So I make time in the day to do that now. I make more time to read. I no longer am up till, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning trying to catch up. I have the AI automate all of my newsletters that I subscribe to, so it could give me a summary of the things that I should know. And if I want to go back and read this article in more depth, It gives me, it keeps a track of my lead list. And I just tell it, okay, I just had this meeting with, Debbie Jenkins, next meeting scheduled for this. This is what I'm going to do. It puts it all into a CSV file. It updates it for me. And then the next morning, by 7:30, it sends me an update and says, okay, it prioritizes for me of what I need to do that day. It's amazing.
It is amazing. It really is
Why
amazing.
wouldn't I use this?
Well, exactly. But
That's
many
my
people
point.
do. Well, but many people do fear AI, and like I mean,
They
back
do,
in
and I
the early
understand
days,
it.
it's oh, it's taking our jobs. I mean, in the hospitality industry, oh, robotics is going to take our jobs. But hospitality industry, it's about human connection. Um,
Yes.
and anywhere your industry, you've got in sales, it's really true saying, even when I was in sales all those years ago, people buy from people.
Yes.
And that's why you have your connections all through your life, because people respond to people, and human
That is
connection is
correct.
very important. So people do fear. So how can we make sure, when you yourself, what do you say to people about using AI in a way in which you shouldn't fear it, use it, but you don't lose that human connection? What do you say to people when they say, I'm scared, I can't do that, I'm not sure, I'll be found out, I'll be seen as I'm not doing my job? What do you say?
Right. I say that you need to not worry about that, right? It's about, are you getting your time back? You know what your worth is, you know what you're doing. It's still you controlling, okay, what do I want to put into this prompt? How do I want this to look? And what I tell people is I give them like the reality of it. This is what it's doing for me. Why can't I have, somebody check my email? Right? Why is that a bad thing? It's not making me a worse writer. It's just instead of sending something out with maybe grammatical errors or spelling errors, it's finding it in seconds. If I need creative ideation, and why is that a bad thing to use AI to get ideas? Because I will tell you, and it's like sometimes I'm using AI during the day for different things, and I'm getting frustrated with AI, right? Because if you don't put in good prompts, right, and you don't explain well what you need, you're not going to get a great output. And then when you do get the output, sometimes no matter how well I've trained it, it still doesn't sound quite the way I want to sound it. I was going through this yesterday where it, gave me back an email, and it was just, too harsh for the way that I would speak to somebody that I know. So it's like, okay, well, they've got the bones in here, right? So let me just take it and, fix the parts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So yes, I'm still putting a lot of time into my day, doing proposals and writing emails and doing all of those things. But at the same time, I'm still getting to read my books. I'm still getting to go work out and, smell the fresh air. I'm having now more human connection and be able to pick up the phone and call someone instead of another email. Say to somebody, yeah, let's meet in person because I'm not so bogged down that I'm afraid to leave my computer, right? So those are all good things. So I say, look at it from a human perspective,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. It really, get it back into that human mode, the way we feel. And that's all it is, it's feeling. So I think that's really important to take. And I like, freed by choice. You have the choice to use whatever tools you have. It
Yes.
might be that you'll do meditation in the morning and you're using AI to do your work-life balance during out the day, and even asking Alexa to put the shopping list together for you
Yes.
so that you can, and remind me to pick up milk. I mean, it's just.
And a lot of people do that on a regular basis. That's using AI. Is that a bad thing that you got reminded?
No,
No,
exactly.
it's a great thing.
It's a
Yeah.
helpful thing because it does
Yes.
it helps you to manage life. And I think that's really important. And when you're managing life, you're feeling better, calmer, more at peace, more balanced. And we go
Yes,
back
more
to what
balance,
you
more at
said.
peace.
Yeah,
And that
balance
that is
is,
what it's
yeah,
all about, right?
yeah,
Life, you're supposed to experience it in a positive way, right? You need to get through the hurdles when they're there and so on. And life is always going to throw things at you that maybe you didn't want or don't understand. Like that's just the way it is. But from a day-to-day perspective, you want to be able to fulfill yourself. I think sometimes, especially as women, we've gotten into this mode that, I come last. And as long as everything else is taken care of, at some point I'll take 20 minutes for myself. Yeah, sometimes I laugh and it's like, I'll see somebody post on social media, oh, it's my birthday today, and thank you to my family for letting me have this spa treatment and this hour and a half to myself. And it's like if you're only getting an hour and a half to yourself once in a while, that's not okay.
once a year. That's not
Once a year,
okay. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
It's not selfish, right? It's like they say like on the airplane, that if you're sitting next to, a child or whatever to use your restraint system first and then take care of them because you can't take care of other people if you're not okay, right? And
That
that's
is so
very
true.
basic. You've heard this before. We've all heard this before, but it's true.
It is true. It
And
is
what was
true.
I doing to myself by breaking out and feeling terrible and awful? It wasn't just, me, but where was I going to wind up being for the people that were counting on me after a
100%.
while, right? I don't want to,
100%.
I'm not in a good mood. I don't have the same creative ideas. I'm not going to be able to move as efficiently. So, for some reason, and like I said, especially as women, we kind of take that stuff for granted and say, well, uh, this is my role. This is what it's supposed to be. And so we take that into our careers as well, most
Yeah,
times. Yeah.
absolutely. And the pressure of that, it is very real. But
Yes.
it's not selfish, it's selfless. And I think
Yes.
as we come, I mean, especially later on in life, older women, we start to recognize the importance of being selfless because, like
Yes.
you rightly said, we cannot turn up as the best version of ourselves for other people if we don't look after ourselves. And that is what this sort of the idea has been, with everybody I have met as I've done this podcast. It's really about finding those moments of people to guide you, tools to help you. Don't be afraid to find help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And don't be afraid to stop and help yourself. I think that's
That is
really
correct.
important, isn't it?
I think that's incredibly important. And again, I love the title as you mentioned, freed by choice, because again, it's your choice.
Yeah,
If you want to continue to do everything the hard way and do, I'm not, hey, I'm not good at accounting, even in my personal life, right? I have to do accounting, I have to do budgeting, I have to do certain things. Um, I could really expand my horizons and not only become more efficient with it, but I can become better at it, right? And I could, you know, I used it to plan all the trips. I used AI, to do that. And it's been wonderful. It really keeps me on track because here I am working, and I've also have to plan this trip. And a lot of the trips I do are for business. And then also I add in some pleasure. How do you balance all that? What should you see? How should you do the timing? What should I not miss in this new city or this new country? And how else would I have done that? I don't have time to sit with a travel agent per se.
yeah.
And I can just, as I have moments throughout the day, right, I can interact with it. And in a few seconds, I get back ideas and I come back to it when I need to. It works around your schedule.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just to finish off, Dara, I've really appreciated you talk. It's been so insightful. It really has. What do you hope that people take away from your message today?
I'm so passionate about this because you're constantly hearing all the negativity about AI, and I want to say it is going to be here. It is going to stay. I was just at the Red Tech conference in Spain a little over a month ago or so, And one of the, speakers that got up that was talking about AI, he said, we're always talking about AI slop, but let's be real. We have a lot of human slop too, right? And he put up a bunch of reality TV things on the screen and some crazy, reels and stuff that were done on, social. And he said, we have human slop too, right? And I think that that's like, we need to kind of look at it. It's not everything that we did as humans was perfect. This gives us the opportunity to be more of who we are, give back the time, get back the time for ourselves, learn new things that we didn't know before, get more efficient at something, and again, give you back, that human connection. One of the themes that I have throughout the talk, that people have really resonated with was when good tech meets good hearts.
Oh, that's
And that's
lovely.
when, yeah, when good tech meets good hearts, that's when things really start to change, right?
Yeah,
That's when you really see that I have, I'm using this with good intention, right? I'm using this in a good way. So get part of the get into part of the conversation. Help to shape where AI goes. I spoke, as you know, in Geneva,
yes, we
in
met in
May.
Geneva. It was lovely.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I got to speak about, AI governance and how in the United States I compared it to the Gilded Age, right? The Industrial Revolution, and how we can use that as the framework of like the things that innovation was amazing. Look at all the things we wouldn't have, the railroads, the electricity, the steel, right? It built cities. It made us more efficient, way faster. It incredibly changed the economy in all in good ways, but it also had a lot of downside to the economy. Real people suffered because they weren't brought along. So let's be part of the conversation. Let's help to shape it. Let's make sure that our employees are being respected, that when they have 30 years of experience, there is absolutely no way that you can have that, that knowledge, that institutional knowledge that they bring, that training, the ability to understand, oh, this went wrong when we did that, right? The entry level people coming in, they need to learn, right? Let's keep these things in mind and let's shape AI the way we know that it's going to be best for us as humans.
Oh,
That's my
that's
takeaway.
lovely.
And I'm so passionate about it. I
I can
hope it
hear.
resonates.
Oh, that's so lovely. Thank you so much for your time, Dara. I'm really, really grateful that you came on. I know how busy you are as well. You just have a wonderful rest of your summer over
Thank
there in
you.
Florida, and I hope to see you again real soon. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank you, Debbie. It was great to be here. Take care. Thank you.